So I did 4 turns and they were half an hour apart. And then I left the dough just with the tea towel over the top for about 2 hours. And you can see it is pretty much doubled in size. It's also, if you bring the camera, because if you touch the dough, it's not sticky. That's a good indication that it's ready. This is probably like, this is maybe have gone a little bit too far as well. You can see, it's a bit hard to see in this light, but some of it's starting to darken in color. And that, yeah, it's really ready to be shaped now. So what I'm going to do is I've floured the bench top and I've got my scraper. And I'm just going to tip the dough out. Do a big pile. I'm just going to spread it a little bit. It's really sticky and hard to maneuver sometimes. So if you flour your hands, it makes it a bit easier. I'm just putting a line of flour down the middle because I'm just going to roughly, this recipe makes 2 loaves and I'm not going to bother measuring them out. One of them always ends up bigger than the other, no matter what I do. So now this is the first shape. You do 2 shapes all up. Get a bit of flour on my hands. So you're going to take, I kind of shape it roughly into a bit of a rectangle. You can see some really nice bubbles in here already. So that's the what's going to be the holes in your dough or the holes in your bread when it's cooked. So I'm taking the top edge and I'm bringing it over to probably about halfway, just folding it. Now you can do this really roughly. Honestly, don't kind of stress over it. You're just basically wanting to make it into a circle. Then you bring this corner in and this corner in, this side in, just stretch it out a little bit, this side in, like this. And then you've got this bottom edge here and you're going to stretch that out and fold it over and turn the dough like this. Now, this is now your outside crust and it's really important that this now stays intact. So I'm just going to shape it roughly into a circle. Now this next part is a little bit trickier. It's kind of like a bit of a slide method. So basically you're just going to tuck all the edges in just to make that outside crust nice and tight. So I've got my hands, they're going to be flat along here on the bench and I'm just dragging it under itself like that. Just dragging it under at each, that air bubble there. At each edge, just drag it under just to make it nice and tight. So that's one. Now what I'm actually going to do is, I should have done this earlier, but I'm actually going to grab some olives. Now, it's really super easy to add stuff to the bread. So, like you could add herbs, you could add dates, you could add walnuts. I'm gonna add some olives. I would normally cut these, but I can't be bothered, so we're just gonna see how it turns out. I'm literally just gonna sprinkle them over the dough. Just kind of evenly, and I'm going to repeat that fold method. Press it in, fold it in on itself, add a couple more olives. In the corner. Maybe just a few more for good luck. Stretch the dough over, tuck him over. Flip him around on itself just to kind of into the cylinder shape, and there we go. There's a nice circle there. You might see some olives popping out, but because we're going to do a second shape, it doesn't matter. Just going to put a bit more flour on my hands. And then again, I'm just going to, I guess one good way to think of it is if you put your hands down, you drag the dough over to yourself, like that, just towards yourself, drag it under, and you're just grabbing a little bit of it just to tuck it under, just to make the crust nice and tight. Now these are going to bench rest for 20 minutes. It's good just to put a bowl over the top of each of them. I'll grab a bowl of this one in a sec, just so they don't dry out, just to prevent like anything falling on any flies or anything if it's hot. And we'll do a second shape in 20 minutes.